Hi, I'm Dr. Patsi Krakoff, and I have some important news to share with you about the brain. And I hope this will help you understand how neuromarketing and brain scan images can contribute to creating more engaging content. A recent survey of content marketing professionals found that professionals are challenged by creating what's called engaging content. 36% find it hard to produce engaging content. Another 21% find that producing enough content is their biggest problem. So that makes 57% of content challenges. How can you get your readers and viewers to pay attention, get involved, and remember your brand? In order to make that shift to successful content marketing, agencies and creative marketing people must understand what makes people tick. How do you grab the hearts and minds of consumers with the products and services you represent? I believe that the answers to these challenges lie in the brain, but maybe that's because I'm a psychologist and a journalist. On my blog, writingontheweb.com, I publish tips for content marketers, and I'm also a contributing editor to the Content Marketing Institute. For the last few years, I've been fascinated by neuromarketing. There are new companies using brain scan techniques who look inside the brains of consumers while they respond to marketing materials. I just find this stuff fascinating. And I think they're already providing important clues that can help content marketers reach consumers in a better way. Neuromarketing studies are indicating that the three most important elements in marketing that actually prime the brain for action are attention, emotional engagement, and memory. These three elements must be present in order for your content to get marketing results. There are other things that the brain scans are revealing. There are three ways to frustrate the brain, both in print and online. There are three things the brain can't ignore that are absolutely irresistible. But the biggest news of all is that up to 95% of our decisions are made subconsciously. Fortunately, we're learning that there are key ways to talk to the subconscious parts of the brain, and that is the real decision maker. So as content marketers, we need to know this. Decisions are made from the subconscious emotional parts of the brain and are filtered and moderated also by the rational brain. Now, we all think we are reasonable, rational people and that our decisions are made by careful consideration. But the reality is that what we decide to read, the websites we pick, and what we decide to do while there, and whether or not to buy are all decisions and actions that we make mostly with our unconscious brains, completely out of our awareness. 95% of our decisions are heavily influenced by the old brain, and 80% of the time we're on autopilot. So many marketers are trying to engage the conscious brains of people. But when 80% of our new product launches end up as failures, our ideas about marketing to the conscious mind are outdated. Here's the problem. In customer surveys, 85% of consumers who defect report being satisfied or even highly satisfied with the company they are leaving. Then why are they leaving? In other studies, satisfaction explains only 8% of repurchase. If they're so satisfied, then why aren't the rest of them repurchasing? In 2005, corporations spent more than $7.3 billion in market research in the U.S. alone. In 2007, that figure goes up to $12 billion, and it's even more now. Companies and brands are gathering the wrong information because consumer surveys and focus groups can only report back what consumers consciously experience. And that in itself is falsified by biases and flaws from our thinking brains. When we make a decision subconsciously and then we are asked why we buy, we filter our reasons through the new thinking brain where language is produced, and much is lost in translation. So some better market research comes from monitoring the brains of consumers as they react to messages through neuromarketing. People are often operating on automatic pilot. We say one thing and we do another. We say we're on a diet, but we eat the donut anyway. In a marketing research study, brain scans scans on smokers, they found that when they read the warning labels on cigarette packages, it triggers a craving response in their brains. So the warnings don't deter smokers from smoking, they actually encourage them. Successful content marketing engages the subconscious minds of readers and consumers. But let's talk about what exactly is the subconscious mind. Timothy Wilson defined the unconscious as being mental processes that are inaccessible to the conscious mind, but that influence judgments, feelings, or behavior. The subconscious parts of our brains create shortcuts that size up our environment, interpret it, and initiate behavior quickly. They say that our five senses process 11 million bits of information per second, but fortunately only 40 of these enter our conscious awareness. So what will it take for your marketing messages to be part of the information that grabs people's attention? The human mind evolved two types of mental processes to help our ancestors survive: the conscious and the unconscious. The unconscious habitual mind is hardwired as an evolutionary survival mechanism. Habit is the mind's way of handling routine decisions to free up our newer conscious mind for other tasks. A look of the comparison between the two different brain processes shows us what we're aware of and what we aren't aware of. The conscious mind, we're very much aware of what we're aware of. It thinks, it reasons, and it reflects, but it's rather slow. It can make plans, and in order to do so, it imagines the future, but unfortunately, it uses up a lot of energy. So anytime it can conserve energy and use the subconscious mind, it will. Subconscious mind is alert, but you don't know it. It's especially alert for dangers and pleasures. It's the feeling part of our brain. It's instinctive, and it's 5 times more rapid than the conscious thinking brain is. It's very responsive. It's where we create habits and automatic responses, and it conserves energy. Here's what else we need to know to understand the brain. Our brains are 100,000 years old. They really haven't evolved that much since the time of cavemen. We have the same innate drives. Cavemen were motivated to acquire food to feed their families, and they bonded to reproduce and ensure the survival of the species. They learned smarter ways in order to kill more prey, and they ferociously defended themselves and fought animals to protect their survival. Now, our ancestors on the savannas in East Africa dealt with amazing stresses every day, and they were motivated by the same things we are. Our brains seek to acquire objects to improve our chances of survival, but also to acquire experiences that improve our status among the tribe. Another thing our brain is motivated to do is to learn better ways of doing things, to explore ideas. We're very curious. A third innate drive that we all have is that drive to bond with other people so we can form relationships to improve our lot in life and also to reproduce. And the fourth innate drive is to defend and protect our property, our ideas, and our families against enemies and competitors. Now, we may not wake up and grab a spear to go find prey to kill or pick berries to feed our infants, but our brains are telling us to do similar things. We go fight traffic to get to the office. We acquire the latest gear, get the best jobs, make more money. And we use electronic spears, iPhones, laptops, iPads. We're very highly motivated to learn what's needed, to be smarter than our competition, and to form allies and teams in order to succeed. We also defend ourselves from losing what we have and to protect our families, our jobs, and our property. We have the same brains on a different day. Flash forward to the 21st century. Brains are being studied in laboratories around the world. Consumers are being hooked up to brain imaging machines, MRIs, EEG, and other devices to monitor them while consumers read marketing messages and make decisions. This is rather expensive market research to do, but fortunately most brains work the same, with some interesting exceptions for age and gender. Here's how brain scans for neuromarketing purposes are done. A functional magnetic resonance imaging machine monitors brain activity based on blood flow to regions of the brain. This is possible because oxygenated blood contains iron, which is picked up by magnetic sensors. So after being shown content marketing messages, the blood will flow to the regions of the brain needed to process it. What's achieved are pictures of the brain activity as shown on the previous slide. Most neuromarketing companies use EEG technologies, as shown on the right. A person is fitted with a cap with electrodes to monitor activity in different parts of the brain while viewing materials. The other way of measuring consumer responses to marketing messages involves facial recognition coding. Facial expression gives us a lot of clues to nonverbal emotional reactions. So how does this work in the brain with marketing? Think of a monkey waking up in a tree. He swings through the branches and he sees a bright yellow banana. Instantly, he's on high alert, his stomach starts growling, his mouth salivates, and his adrenaline pumps in anticipation as he speeds towards his goal. He's driven to acquire the banana and to eat it. But first, he has to remember where he spotted it. These are the three principles of marketing in action: attention, emotional impact, and memory. And we are no different. When something catches our attention, and if it triggers one of our drives to acquire it, eat it, bond with it, or use it, we will remember it so we can take action on it. For content marketing to work, we need to be aware of two additional key elements that engage the brain: emotions and narrative. Evolution tends to favor action over thinking, and that hasn't changed. Emotions control the mind very much as it did when our ancestors first came on the scene. People react much more emotionally than companies like to think. Purchasing decisions are never driven by logic alone. Emotion and narrative are key. All successful marketing campaigns, whether using primeval or post-digital technologies, have responded to this phenomenon. I found this quote on a site called braincells.com, and it's very important for content marketing: emotion and narrative. But first, let's take a look at how the brain works. Your brain is rather small. It only occupies 2 to 3% of your total body space. However, it's very powerful and uses up to 20% of your body's energy supply of glucose. It needs an enormous amount of fuel. It's responsible for a lot of our functioning: sensory perceptions, interpretations, emotions, movements, motivations, planning, imagination, and innovations, and all of our decisions, both conscious and subconscious, both logically and rationally. Here's how the brain evolved. The brain can be categorized into 3 parts that act separately with different cellular structures and functions. But although each can act separately, they are influenced by each other. The 3 parts communicate with each other and constantly try to influence. Each one has a specialized function. The new brain thinks. It processes rational data. The middle brain feels. It processes emotions and gut feelings, and it also accesses our memories. The old brain ultimately decides. It takes into account the input from the other 2 brains, but the old brain is the one that triggers decision and action. You're probably already familiar with the right and left brains. The left hemisphere is the center of linear thinking, such as language, logic, and mathematics. The right is the center of conceptual thoughts, such as art, music, creativity, and inspiration. The 2 hemispheres are joined by a bundle of neurons called the corpus callosum, and in women, this is much larger and stronger. There are many more neurons connecting the 2 hemispheres in females. This accounts for a woman's greater ability to operate using both sides of the brain. men tend to use predominantly one side or the other, which accounts for their ability to focus